Everybody, welcome back to State of Scrims. This is our first episode for season 11 of Scrim Zone. Very exciting. Um, I am joined by Gruer, who will, for the foreseeable
Hello.
future, be the co-host. But yeah, I'm very excited to talk about a lot of stuff. We got to see um, all the teams play with rosters that are somewhat resembling what they're going to run during the season in Frostbite. I think there's some key changes going on there, but we are about to just dive in and review rosters. But we had a lot of great games, a lot of long bangers, but also a lot of stomps. I am kind of excited to see these teams play in a format that isn't blind picked, though. So hopefully that'll change things a little bit. But anyway, Guru, do you have any favorite takeaways from getting to watch Frostbite?
Um, just that it was a really fun tournament. It was awesome how much money got raised. I thought pretty much all the teams had some good games and good moments. I just enjoyed every game I saw. A lot of entertaining stuff. I do agree that I'm excited to see less blind pick, more draft. But even the draft phase we got to see on the second day was really entertaining, and just thought all the teams played well.
Yeah, I will double what you said on the donations. That was insane. I had no expectations to get anywhere near that much, so getting completely blown away by that was awesome. I think my number one take on the tournament though was Snarkify Rebellion is terrifying. I know they didn't end up winning the tournament or do very well in semifinals. I think they ended up having to run a weird roster there, but just seeing how dominant they were with their main roster on Saturday, I think definitely put some fear in me a little bit. I know a lot of people were running the QC A team, B team narrative last season, and I think seeing the supposed B team show up and just absolutely kick ass when they got to run their real roster was super exciting. So I enjoyed watching that. But we can go over and do our usual thing where okay, this is very old actually. That is all the way back from season 8, but that is what we're going to be looking at.
All right.
And we will go alphabetically. Um, so starting with One Thief, we will get to see their updated roster. And I still haven't learned how to actually change the image the way I want to. Anyway, Guru, you can see these, right? You're watching delayed on Twitch, I
I am.
assume. Okay. And you got Twitch chat, right? I'm
I
so
do.
used to actually seeing Twitch chat, but I'm not
I'll
looking
I'll
anymore.
handle the
I'm
Twitch
done.
chat. Yeah, I'll handle the
Thank
chat.
God. Um, but yeah. Okay, so anyway, three people are staying on One Thief. We have Jonah, Sarverus, and Bean. And we have five people leaving in exchange for only four people joining. So we are losing Kamazotz and Pickle. Pickle is looking for a team if anybody wants to pick him up. Kamazotz, I think, is gone off the face of the earth. Dave has moved over to Project Tuesdays. Lispy has moved over to Albert's Inferno with an asterisk there, which we will talk about later. And Fishy has been basically exchanged for Gruer on the Rift Sharks roster. And their pickups are Noam, Novaland, and Dad. I think the big news here is the Noam Gruer combo coming over. They played together in season 9 on
Yep.
Rift Sharks and actually also in season 5 on Metabusters. So both of those teams we can see represented in the graphic right now, but I think the reading into that is very interesting. And kind of as I've talked about through the Frostbite tournament, Jonah, Gruer, and Dad have won a season together, and Sarverus has won a season on 80 carry, which I suspect to be the role that he's going to end up playing the most this season. So I think this is definitely a run back season in a few different ways, as well as Noam and Gruer having won a season together on Rift Sharks. So just a lot of, I think, expectations kind of put on this team. But it is a new era of Scrim Zone, I feel like, at this point from when they won. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how this core of players deals with the new stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited to play on this team. Like you kind of went through a quick little history there. It is kind of a lot of former teammates joining. You know, as you said, I'd played on a team with Noam just 2 seasons ago, and we had a lot of success mid jungle. Ended up winning the season. Had a lot of success when I first joined the server on Sarver's team. Sarver was actually the person that invited me to the server, if I remember correctly. So, kind of getting to reunite with him, and then me and Dad go way back. Me, Dad, and Jonah. So, just kind of getting back together with a lot of old friends. Kind of a fun environment so far. We've had a little bit of time to practice. It's been cool. It's kind of one of those teams where, and what I was looking for was, a team that win or lose, you're going to have a good time, and definitely the vibes have been great so far. A little bummed I couldn't play in the Frostbite tournament. My team did take a quick
Tragically.
2-0 or 0-2, excuse me. So didn't get to play on that. They didn't make it to Sunday. But I'm excited to see what we can do. I think our team has a lot of potential.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're definitely a team to look out for. I did pull up the numbers before. I meant to intro with this actually, but over the entire league, we have 8 people leaving the server, sadly, or like not being rostered that were rostered last time. We have 20 new people joining the server, which is insane. 33 people are actually staying on the same team, and 18
Hmm.
people are changing between teams. So that is a lot of retention, and a lot of the new people are just completely new people, which is kind of interesting. But I think like Dad would count as a new people, even though he is technically coming back from a
Yeah,
previous
he did
team.
play two
But
seasons. Yeah.
anyway, we will just hop right to Inferno. I think they are the next alphabetically, but we get to talk about the Lispy situation. But leaving this team is Kai, who isn't rostered. Vitus or Snark leaving to start his own team. Very exciting news, but they're actually able to keep everyone else. So Brian, Albert, Omar, Jeremy, Draco, and Hongbaba all staying on this team. And they are picking up Rift, who I believe is pretty close with Draco. And they played together in Frostbite, and we've scrimmed this team a decent amount. Very exciting bot lane. I think they do very well together, and I think this team has a few versions of the roster that they should be running a lot. I think there's some availability issues. I don't know how much we're going to see Hongbaba for that reason. But Lispy was a very exciting addition to this team, but sources are telling me that he is not going to be playing at all this season. I don't know if that's going to remain true, but it at least is true as of now. I don't know if everybody's heard that yet, and I guess I'm the rumor mill at this point, but definitely a tough loss for this team. But I think they were super solid last season. I think Draco having to play a lot of top lane was not her preference, so I think getting to role swap around into roles that make more sense. And Brian's top lane in Frostbite has looked pretty good, honestly, and I think he does have the option to play AD carry if the
Right.
roster allows. But I do think that they're looking for a replacement top laner if you are looking to fill that spot and are available. And for some reason, watching this, if you're not already on a team,
Yeah. I'm excited to see more from this team. A little bit disappointing what you'd said about maybe some of the unavailability, but hopefully there's still time for them to get a permanent top laner if they need one. Yeah, without them having, with Hong apparently being unavailable and with Vetus, Rad has also asked me to inform you that it's Vetus, quote, for the 10,000th time, well, 100,000th time,
oh,
excuse me. But so with
I'm
Vetus and
just gonna
Hong both
start
being
saying
gone, I think there's just
snark.
a little
Like,
uncertainty on some of this. But and I'm also not familiar with Rift. I don't think I've seen Rift at all, so I'm not too sure. But
yeah, I
a lot
think
of return.
completely net new player to the server. Um, I flipped over to the roster page because I was like, oh, it's always an alphabetical there, but I know I forgot I redid the way it worked. So I actually forget who's next. I think after those two rosters, we do go all the way down to M alphabetically. So I think Metabusters change is going to be the next one. This is a team with very little turnover, but huge additions, kind of vintage Metabusters returning. So
Yeah.
everyone on this roster has been on Metabusters before. Actually, everyone but Hidiri, their last team was Metabusters. So it's kind of just like a revival, blast from the past for this team. We are seeing the founder of the team go over to 1T. Unfortunately, he attempted to regain captainship of this team and was not able to. And I think the relationship there is bridge burned or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, he's on 1T. And Tom is unfortunately leaving after a solid season last time around. But we do have Corn, Snow, Fujer, Jacob Jackson, and Kathy all staying. I don't think Kathy got much playing time last season, but I think that is going to change this time around, which is pretty exciting. And Stav, Tusini, and Hidiri all returning to Metabusters. I think this is the roster I'm most excited to see back because, as I've talked about, I think this like Metabusters core is the most successful team Scrimzone has ever seen. So getting to see them kind of come back in full force, I think will be really exciting. They weren't able to make it as far last season, but they had lost Stav, who I feel like was a critical piece, if not the critical piece, in how successful their roster was. So having that kind of return, I think this is a team with high expectations, wants to make it deep into playoffs, and basically every time we've seen this core run, it's hit finals. So we'll see if that happens. There are 9 teams, and I think the league has gotten a little stronger overall, so it might be a little tough. But I feel like the addition of Snow and Stav is not a combo we've actually seen before. So I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I had no idea that Stav or Tusini or Hidiri, that any of the three of them were considering coming back to the server. Um, Long-time players, a lot of great memories playing with and against them. All really chill. So happy to have them back. And yeah, I mean, I think MetaBusters is just kind of like the most I don't know what the right word is, but just like institutional team almost in a sense. Like the people that play on that team for the most part stick with and enjoy that team, and they've really kind of kept their core for longer than anybody else. And it's paid dividends for them, as you've said. Typically, some of the better performers. So yeah, excited for them this year.
Yep, and that does move us over to the other Busters, which is the New York Nut Busters, and I think this is a kind of complete change of pace for them. I feel like they're able to retain 3 people actually, but the whole dynamic of the team has changed. I feel like Mike is planning on being primarily a sub. I don't think we're going to see that much playtime from him this season, which is kind of why I'm saying that, because I think in the past it has been that core group of friends that's been together for so long, and now we are seeing it get mixed up a little bit, which I think is super exciting. Alana, Alex, and Julian all not returning, unfortunately. But I think Blake had kind of coerced everyone into playing last season, and they didn't get the win. They got damn close, but they are returning with Psycho Carrot and Archived replacing the 2 holes on the roster, and Daniel getting promoted to the main roster, with Mike getting kind of demoted by his own choice. I'm not saying he's getting like shelved or anything, but I think this is going to be a really exciting roster. I think Psycho Carrot is a very flippy player. I think he's somewhat inconsistent, and I think Archived is a very big name up-and-comer in this server. I think Archived saw a lot of success last season on BB, kind of flip-flopping in and out with Will, but now we get to see Archived as the primary ADC option. Big shoes to fill with Alex swapping out, but PB is a great support and should be able to help Archived look really good. But I will say the thing that I was saying during Frostbite is Archived and PB did not seem to have as much synergy as Archived and Draco. So I think PB has some work to do to change my mind on that one. But I'm just being provocative here. I don't really think that. I think the blind pick is hard to tell. But what is
certainly. I mean, it's gonna take time to build any sort of synergy, of course. But yeah, fun team. I'm glad that the ones that have stayed have stayed. And I think it's going to be, I think what stands out to me with this team, I'm excited to see Daniel get more playing time, because I thought Daniel looked really good when he did get to play. And then Psycho Carrot's glad he's found himself another starting position on a team. Love that guy. So excited to see more out of him.
Okay.
And he's actually reuniting with
starting position on his team. Love that guy. Glad he, quotation marks around all that for that. I would say that very sarcastically.
I mean, so for
you're
real
being
though.
serious. I'm not.
Oh, well, he's reuniting with PB as well, and he's found a lot of success with PB in the past. Both 2 seasons ago with Rift Sharks when he won a season with PB, and also 2 seasons before that, I believe, when he played with PB on MVP, and they were an extremely formidable team. So he and PB have always worked well together. So I'm excited for that reunion.
Yeah, PB just keeps them in check, or they're both insane. Which I don't know.
It works. It somehow works. Yeah, as a witness to it, it somehow works. PB is the whisperer of Carrot.
Yeah, that's unfortunately correct. I think Qualmless Chillers are actually next. We have a very late in the alphabet skewed set of teams at this point, which is very funny to me. But this is the big one. So we have 4 people leaving from QC to go to Snarkify Rebellion, and it is Kage, Scott Pilgrim's Illusion Hero. One of them is benched, I think, or not benched, but subbing. That would be Scott. The other 3 are starting, so it's not a full B team that people have been talking about, because obviously it's only 60% of the roster is from QC, but I believe only 80% of their starting roster is, or no, only 60% of QC's starting roster is formerly on QC also, which is kind of interesting. So both of the teams that are supposed to be the QC A and B teams from last season are actually only 60% QC members, which is, whatever. Take that to mean what it does. Chow going over to Rift Sharks, I think, is a big deal. He did just win a season, and is the only one that is leaving QC and not going to Snarkify. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people expected basically anyone who left the team to be going to Snarkify, so that it's kind of unexpected. I thought I had zero chance of getting to sign him, so I was very happy when he told me that he was going to. But Drakkar, Rat, Alec, Ribbons, and Paul M are the ones that are staying for QC. Ribbons and Paul are technically the subs. And Zaber coming over to QC, I think, is really unexpected. That kind of blew me away. I think
Yeah.
I was really positive on Zaber during the games. I think Zaber had really good performances. He was able to get like solo kills against really good top laners, but I think not a lot of eyes were on him. A, because he was like kind of a sub for SKT, and also he was on the worst team. Like I think that
Yeah.
kind of does make it hard for people to pick you up.
Yeah.
Kind of the Alfari situation. I feel like people will know what I mean by that. But anyway, if Team Liquid will import Alfari, then QC will sign Zaber. It's the same kind of deal. And I mean, they're
Sure.
super high on him. They're very confident in the signing, and they're very happy with it. And I'm excited to see how it plays out. Jim, new player, I think is an exciting signing as well. And Insidious finally got his first wins in signups. So maybe he'll get some wins in the team format. I know that's something people have been joking about. But I don't know. I don't have too much of a read on here for QC. I think seeing Alec, Jim, and Zaber be their new starters, I think will be really interesting. They're actually only retaining Drakkar and Rat as starters from the previous season. I know a lot of people were saying, oh, like if they end up winning, like they won't be able to stick together at all. And they did choose to stick together in order to sacrifice the rest of or in order to do that, they had to sacrifice the rest of their roster. So I think it's a very big switch
Yeah.
up for this team. But as we saw in Frostbite, the performance is still there. It's just a bit of a different roster doing it.
Yeah, I think I'm most excited for the new QC to get to see more games out of Alec. Uh, I feel like Alec performed really well last season when he did get to play. So I'm very excited to see more from him. Ribbons as well in that same regard. I know we think Alec's the starter, Ribbons the sub, but I assume just as last season, they'll kind of cycle their subs a pretty good amount. So I'm excited to see both of them get to play more, whether that's in AD carry or mid lane.
Yeah, I do think the thing to note is that Ribbons can't 1-to-1 sub for Alec. Paul would need to come in also.
Okay.
So I think that is a little interesting there. But anyway, I think we can move on to Rift Sharks, which I think is next alphabetically. I'm going to do one of these out of order, and people are going to call me out on it. But this team, I feel like, is a complete overhaul because I expect 2 out of 3 of me, Evan, and Chris to be on the bench most of the time. Just by how things worked out, I tried to sign so many different people in the offseason and got nobody that I was looking for. So at least
So
initially.
you got Chow. You got
Yeah.
Chow, as you just said.
No, I am insanely happy with the roster I ended up with, but it's like not the roster I was expecting to have. I talked to so many people. I am ecstatic about the roster I have. I was going through it in the offseason. People have been talking to me, knew I was not having a great time, but after actually getting to play with the team that I put together, I have not been more happy about a roster that I put together in a very long time. I think probably season 7 was like the most excited I was about a roster. I feel like just because of the unknownness of what I had put together, I feel like what I've been playing with the last few seasons, very known quantities, and I knew well in advance what I was playing with. But I'm really happy, especially the late pickup of Fishy that we were able to get. But Blind
Yeah.
Spiral leaving to form his own team. Gruer going to 1T, as we already talked about. Psycho Carrot going to NYMB, also, that we already discussed. I think me, Evan, and Chris are very good value and consistent players with a lot of flexibility and able to do a lot of stuff. So happy that we're
Yeah.
able to retain the 3 of us. But yes, Chow, big pickup. I wasn't expecting to get him. He's proven that he can win, and we're happy to run him on our team. And then Giraffe and Chaos. Obviously, we can't run them both at once, but insanely good mid lane player, insanely good ADC player. Excited for them to get to show off what they can do in the team format. And then Frantic. I've been loving playing with this guy. Newer player to the server, but really good support player. Has a solid champion pool. I think is really exciting. And really fun to have in comms. So very happy with my team. I don't know what your thoughts are though for us.
Uh, yeah, I'm excited. I think all the new players that joined are going to be really fun to watch to play. Glad Chow found another good starting point. Going to be excited to see how he looks off of QC this season. I'm glad Giraffe's able to get on a roster and likely get to play a lot, as he's been super fun to play against. Hadn't really got to be too familiar with Chaos or Frentic yet. And then I think what I'm actually most excited about, though, is just the fact that Fishy's actually going to get to play a majority of a season, it sounds like. Like, I just think for like 4 seasons at this point, he's been forced to have to like sub on a team, just I think due to his work schedule or otherwise, and we haven't really got to see too much from him. But he's always been a fun guy to have around and put out good performances. So the fact that he's seemingly getting to play a lot this season is going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for our team is that I somehow need to pick 3 of these players to sit every game, which has been really difficult. To be honest, there I feel like everyone deserves to get to play, so that'll be the tough thing here. But yeah, I mean, we have a few people vying for each role, so it should be pretty interesting. And it'll be performance dependent. So whatever roster's winning for us is going to be the roster that we run. So yeah, we'll see what that ends up being, though. I have a lot of confidence in a few different arrangements of us, but yeah, I mean, we'll see how that goes. And I think Fearless is going to play into that a lot. So we'll kind of see how that goes as the season develops. But anyway, going over to the next one. I guess
Darkify?
Project Tuesdays would have been before
Mm.
Qualmless Chillers. I just have them as Tuesdays in here. But anyway, completely new team. So everyone is just joining fresh. Dave coming from 1T, Spiral coming from Rift Sharks, and Nishan coming on as a sub from Big Bananas. Everyone else is new to the server except for Rex, who is returning after a while. I don't know how much playtime he's going to get, just because I don't know what his availability is, but I'm glad to see Rex back. In some ways, I am not excited to have to play against this guy or draft around this guy or do anything, but I think it is cool for the server that he's back for sure. But I mean, I think Dave was a really strong spot on 1T. I think I think close to the top, if not the top, in terms of ADC All Scrims voting. Really good player. However, he's role swapping to top, which
Yeah.
is one of the big role swaps that I think we're looking out for this season. I don't really know where 1T's landed on what they're doing. There's a lot to talk about there. Kage role swap is not a team we talked about yet, but that's coming up. So I don't know. I mean, we take Dave, who's a very known quantity as an ADC, very top performer, and moving him to top lane. I think he's had a lot of good games top, but I think a lot of it has to do with blind pick, and I do want to see how he looks in a full Fearless series. I mean, obviously his team did end up winning in Bilgewater Brawl, but not to flame anybody on that team, but Snow was like 1v9ing every single game. I think his team played really well in a lot of the games, but I think saying that that team is Project Tuesdays is disingenuous because of how much work Snow did on that team. And I think Project Tuesdays is going to look like a very different team, because I believe neither Fatal or Yug were playing on that team. And I think they have a lot to offer in a very different way than Snow's going to look. So just want to caveat there. But anyway, looking at the new players, we got to see LSD Dreams, Yug, Fatal, and Stormy play a ton in Frostbite, and they all looked fantastic. So I'm super excited to get to see that core play. I do think Stormy is probably going to be sitting in favor of Spiral for most of their games, but I think that's basically what that team's going to look like, and it looks damn good. So I'm quite excited.
I'd kind of just echo your sentiment here. We've kind of got a teaser of the players on this team through Frostbite and Bilgewater, and they've been very impressive. So I am excited to just see them once the season starts. I'm glad. I'm excited for Spiral. Really enjoyed playing with him last season, just like as a teammate. He was a very good teammate, so I'm not surprised that he will be a very good captain. It's always fun to see like a brand new team.
Yep, agreed with that. And speaking of brand new teams, that one's going to be last. So we're actually going to SKT. I don't know. That horrible transition. Hang me. But anyway, SKT actually surprisingly staying very similar. I think people were expecting some sort of roster overhaul, but also people were saying if they do run it back, they're just going to end up at the bottom of the standings again. I don't know where my stance is on that. I am going to figure that out by the back half of this podcast and give my input then. I'm a little out of focus. Can it? There we go. But yeah, Zaber moving over to 1T. or QC. Sorry, it all rhymes. I'm losing it. Xavier going over to QC, I think is a big deal. I think they had a lot of questions going towards their top lane last season. I think maybe picking up Xavier and changing a few of the parts around him could have been an angle that they took. Unfortunately, I don't think Xavier was super happy with her performance and was able to easily get yoinked to the team that won. I think going from the team that finished in last to the team that
Yeah.
finished in first is a good roster, like career move. I think good for Xavier there.
Yeah.
However, I don't know where that leaves SKT to build. I think Faye came into Frostbite looking really good. I don't know how much that's going to last. I think SKT's biggest problem last season was draft and draft prep. And as a top laner, especially now that the matchups are like, I feel like the lane matchups are going to matter a lot more because those level leads are not like, you're not going to be able to catch up and level when you're down as easily because you can get all the way up to 20 and being able to take the like different summoner spells and not get super punished for it. You're going to need to have a good matchup. And if you don't know how to draft, it's really tough to get one of those. So I think the blind pick actually is kind of meaningless for top lane throughout the entire tournament. So I think that's going to be something to look out for. And then the other big news is the role swap for Apari going to ADC. I don't
Yeah.
feel like we don't need to talk too much about Trinity leaving because I don't know if Trinity ever played for SKT. And maybe it was like
Just a
one
little bit, I
series and then
think.
they quit or something. I remember there being something going on there, but supposedly Lithy's coming back. I don't think Lithy's played a single game yet, so I don't know if I believe that yet or not, but sources are telling me it's going to happen. I don't believe these sources though. But Sam S staying on is huge. I think if there's any support, I would choose to help like someone pick up ADC and get to play a lot together and have them look really good. Sam S is easily a top choice. I think PB is a little more abrasive on the learning curves, not in a bad way. I think he's very fun to play with, but Sam is a very gentle touch. But I think PB is able to extract the best out of his ADC, whereas I feel like Sam's better as a starting point player. It's not like a pro or con for anyone, just how or no, not like an overall like good or bad thing. I just think it's pros and cons situation. They're better at different things. Honan, I think, is going to be more on the bench, and I think in their ideal scenario, I don't know if this is going to play out. Again, I don't know people's availability, but I think the starting roster for this team will be Faye, Tuxedo, Game Case, Apari, Sam S. I don't know. I mean, I think Nevada should get to play a lot. I think Nevada looked really good, even having to off-roll a bunch in Frostbite. But I think Nevada is officially considered to be their like top lane sub. I believe Nevada should just be able to be run over Faye on the starting roster. I think that looks like a really good roster. But I mean, I think Tuxedo and Game Case are big question marks. Tuxedo, I've not gotten to really see play at all. Game Case, I think, looked phenomenal in
Yeah.
Frostbite, but I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited for the new players. I've not seen anything from Tuxedo. I thought he was playing jungle just because of how they had their roster set up, but Giraffe's in chat saying he's a top laner. I don't know. I'm curious to see what they do. I'm curious to see if they're going to stick, if they're like hard stuck to this idea of Apari going 80 carry, or if they potentially pivot on that and have him go jungle and someone else play 80 carry. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
It's kind
maybe
of
a
like out for
Pari
them right
jungle,
now.
Tuxedo top, Faye, AD carry. I don't know. I mean, just looking at it, I think if Lithy gets signed, I think Lithy's up there. But besides that, I think it's between Honan or Faye for being the best ADC player on this roster. So I don't know. But I don't know if Honan's ever even going to be able to play. I guess the news there is I don't know if anyone else, if everyone's all caught up on this, but Apari is the new captain for this team instead of Honan. Due to availability issues, Honan got a different job and is working most nights. So he's not really able to run the team anymore. So I don't know. This seems
Bummer.
kind of a big question mark for me. And I think they did keep a lot of the same players, but I think their like roster is going to be pretty different because I think Tuxedo and Game Case should get a lot of playing time. But I don't know how Apari is going to run his team compared to Honan. I know Apari had a big hand in how the team was run before, so I don't expect to see too much change, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of where I'm at.
I'm holding
Rad's shouting
judgment.
out in chat that he thinks the captain change is a big deal, and it might be in some ways, but to me, it's like Apari has been there since the first day, and having played with him, he's definitely like usually a pretty strong voice on his teams. So I feel like they're probably going to carry over a lot. We'll see.
Yeah, well, anyway, we will move over to the last team that we haven't gotten to talk about, and it is the other brand new team, which is Snarkify Rebellion. Four of their members coming from QC, which we already knew, and then Vetus or Snark coming in as the captain from Albert's Inferno. Jar and Eden coming over from Big Bananas, and then Hanya coming from the Ether, as well as Sandy. I think Sandy is the biggest deal here. That player is freaking terrifying. I think Vetus staying on the team, or like, I think Vetus creating the team is kind of more of like a known quantity. We know Vetus is cracked. I think the extent to how good Sandy is really going to get shown this season. There's a lot of really good mid laners. I mean, just looking at like Sandy, Rat, Gruer, Giraffe, I think that's like a terrifying pool, and seeing how those four players stack up against each other, especially on the new rosters, is going to be really interesting. I think Drakkar and Rat as a mid-jungle duo are one of the scariest out there, but I do think Hero and Sandy could be up there as well. Really depends. Fishy and Giraffe, obviously pretty scary too. I don't know how many rosters were actually able to run that duo in, so that's the only reason that I mention it more quickly. But I don't know. This roster is very exciting. I think Sandy is a bit of an unknown quantity, but I know that Sandy is very good. So it's an unknown quantity that's up here instead of kind of in the middle. But I don't know. I mean, I like all these players. I think it's going to be really exciting. I am freaking terrified of this roster. Having four sub options that are all really good players is terrifying as well. So,
Yeah. Like I said earlier, always exciting to have a brand new team. Excited to see like a full season of Vetus. Thought he looked really good every time he subbed in for Hong last season on Albert's Inferno. To get to see him play a full season is with teammates who he is like has more synergy with than the Albert's teammates. Is going to be fun.
Fun to watch, not fun to play against, I will say. But anyway, we are moving over to power rankings as soon as my computer decides to load. So we'll see. I think this is Gruer's first power ranking episode. I know he's a little excited.
First time.
Continued my trend of putting less and less effort into this consistently. So I have done absolutely no prep for this because why would I? There's no.
I did a lot of prep. Well, not a lot. I mean, I've written it all down. I gave it some thoughts. Hard to do. I will say that this was very, very difficult,
especially because you get flayed alive. That's the fun
I know,
part.
and I'm kind of confident in it. Well, for the sake of the stream, we'll say I'm very confident in it. But the real secret, if you're watching at this moment, is I'm kind of not. But I think it's so close between a lot of the teams. So it's gonna be fun.
Yep. Let me see if I have this set up correctly. Ooh, I'll make it a little smaller. Cool. And then do another one of these. Okay, so how I've done these in the past is I randomly pick a number and then we say the team that fits at that number.
If that's how you want to do it, that's fine.
I think it is.
I'd rather start at 9 and go to 1.
See, that's so boring. It's in such a predictable order. You know you're going to end with 1. However, I just rolled a random number, and you have to say your second team first, or
My
you can
second
make me
team.
go first. But you've
I'm
put
gonna
more
make.
time
I'm
into
gonna.
it,
I'm
so-
gonna. I'm gonna make you go first.
Oh Jesus!
Oh, actually, you haven't thought about it yet. You want me to go first?
No, I'll go. I think the second team is Snarkify Rebellion. That's my second team.
Okay. Thoughts, or you're just saying it?
Oh, I'm just gonna put it there. I don't know.
Okay.
I think I've said what I need to say about this team. I think they're really good. I think they're a bit of an unknown quantity, but I think they're super solid. I'm terrified of their mid laner. I'm terrified about their AD carry, and I think the rest of their roles are really good. So they don't really have any weak spots. So I think 2 Giga OP carry players and then 3 really good players to kind of fill in the gaps there. I think the only real question mark on this team is how good is Kage's top lane, because it's a role swap, but it looked good enough in Frostbite, so I'm sold.
Okay. For me, number 2, I'm going with Rift Sharks.
Fascinating.
And I actually did put some thought into this, so I kind of wrote out some thoughts on each team. So I'll kind of get into that. What stands out to me for the most of this team is just that Giraffe is very good. Um, I think he's going to draw a lot of attention in draft. So he's helping out in that phase as well as just in the game. I've been very impressed with every time I've seen him play. So that's a big bonus for me here. If I have any concern for this team, it's the fact that I have some concern for a roster that doesn't have Fishy playing jungle. I think the roster that we saw primarily in Frostbite with Fishy and Giraffe as a mid-jungle duo is extremely, extremely scary. I don't know what the roster looks like if Fishy's not in the game because I don't think there's anyone else on the team that's really like a jungle main. I'm not doubting that other players can try it, and I think the roster that will get built around them will be good enough to like be competitive and win games, but that's maybe my one kind of question mark. And then I think maybe where my highest variance on this team is, I think the side lanes they themselves can be high variance. I love Evan. I think Evan, when he's playing at his best, is as good as any player in the server. I don't care about rank. I don't care about anything. That is a guy that can just win you a game by himself when he's playing really well. The variance can be up and down though. And I think the same thing's kind of true with like Chow. I was really impressed with Chow last season. I think he's a rock that is hard to crack, but he can get beat. And that's kind of what happened when they got knocked out in Frostbite. I mean, Blake kind of just took it to him and won the game through top lane solo in a certain extent. And so that's maybe my one kind of question marks on this team. But yeah, no, I think Rift Sharks is a strong, strong team. And I think they'll pick up right where they left off last season. We finished third last season. You lose 3 members, and I think you've added enough people to be right where you were, if not better. So
yep, I will.
Very excited for this team
when I share where I put Rift Sharks, but I'll make you go first this time. We'll alternate. So our next seed is going to be slot number 7, which is going to be really hard for me because I haven't even thought about the bottom half of my things. So I'm going to need some time.
Okay, number 7 for me, I put New York Nutbusters. And I'm very confident in Blake and PB, as I think everyone would be. 2 of the best players in the server. I think they're extremely good, and I think they're going to continue to be extremely good. I have some concern with Archived. I think Archived has shown a very strong preference for 3 champions, for the Jinx, for the Xayah, and for the Hui. And they've been very good on those 3 champions. But just when you consider Fearless Draft, I have some concern there. And I also think that PB, having played with him and having seen him play for such a long time, he's at his best when he's able to influence the map. And what that means for your AD carry player is they have to be very solid in laning phase to allow your support to be able to roam the map. And I think PB's had that with Evan, and he's had that with Alex. Maybe he'll have that with Archived, but that's a question mark to me. And then I think the biggest swing for me on this team is mid-jungle. Daniel, as a mid laner, is kind of an unknown. He played jungle when he came in last season, and he's played a lot of jungle in scrims. Mid lane, not so much. I mean, I think I went and looked at the stats when I was doing this earlier. I don't even think he had 10 mid lane games. Like, it's not a ton. And as you've already said, I think the mid lane pool that was already really strong last season has gotten even stronger when you add in players like Giraffe and Sandy.
Yep.
So to me, Daniel's kind of an unknown. 14 mid games in the server, and only a 36% win rate on those 14 games. However, he did have a 3.42 KDA, so I think there's potential there. And then Carrot is the other kind of swing for me. Carrot's Carrot. When he's playing really well, I think he can hang with anybody. He's won a season off playing insanely good. And then you kind of had Carrot from last season, and it is what it is. We'll see how it looks. So I don't know. I think this team has high variance. They could be a lot higher. We'll see.
Okay. My 7 is Albert's Inferno. I think this is super hard to slot in because losing Lispy, I think, is really tough. I think that moves him down slots. I was going to put him higher. Not having Lispy for at least some duration of the season is going to be really tough on this team. I think having Brian and Draco as players that you can put in that slot, I think they're covered. And I think they're a roster that's played together for a while. However, this team has always ended up in seventh. I don't think that streak is breaking. So I think they're going to stay there. I think it would have broken if they had gotten to keep Lispy. I hope anyone on that team that's watching this takes this as a challenge and proves me wrong and makes it to playoffs this season. I think they have such a good roster for playoffs. I think they have a lot of clutch players. I think they have some people who are not like, if they don't need to lock in, they don't necessarily. And I think it's harder to get that to come through in regular season. But Omar and Albert for sure have that clutch factor to them. And when they need to do really well, I mean, as we saw in Frostbite, like they lock in, they show up, they have really good games. I don't know if that continued performance over regular season is necessarily there. And I think it's extra hard for them without Lispy. So that's my reasoning for that.
Okay.
But I get to go first next time, and I'm going to roll another die. And we are looking at 8th. So I'm going to go ahead and slot in Project Tuesdays for 8th. I was not very confident on that, actually. I was between, I think the two teams I'm going to put in 8th and 9th, I think could go either way, because I think there's a lot of unknowns for both of them. But I mean, I think Project Tuesdays is a solid team. I think they have a good roster. I think they look good in Bilgewater Brawl. I think Dave role swapping is a bit of a question mark. And I think there are some potential champion pool issues for the bot side of their map and their junglers. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think they're going to look really good in game ones, and I think Fearless is going to hurt this team more so than the others, partially because Dave on a role swap, even if he looks good top lane, Fearless is going to pinch his pool more than other people because he's not had as much time on the role. And I just think a lot of the discussion around these players has been, they're really good at one or two champions, and it kind of falls off. So I think as the series get longer, they are going to struggle a little bit more.
Okay. For me at number 8, I'm going with Albert's Inferno. And I was very disappointed to have to put them in this slot. My understanding is that Hong is not playing very much and that Lispy is not playing at all. So I'm just really not sure about their top lane strength and their ADC strength. If Lispy was like playing every game, I'd have them a lot higher. If I thought Hong was playing every game, I'd have them higher. But yeah, so that's just a question mark for me. I'm very confident in Omar, and I'm excited to see more from him. I thought he played so good last season. He had the second highest KDA of any mid lane player in team format last season and was just putting up some monster games down the stretch. Just doing a really good job. So I think he can just win you some games outright. But then as far as variance, I think Albert's play is really key for me. He's a player who's had a wide range of performance. I think he's a very formidable player when he's playing at his best. He had some really good showings in Frostbite, particularly on the Lilia and the Skarner, has looked really good. So I think their ceiling, depending on who they're able to get, either as a new top laner or just what roster they round out with, a lot of their ceiling to me is going to come down to Albert's play. So I wouldn't be shocked if I'm just like dead wrong somehow and they get higher than this, but that's kind of where I'm feeling with them right now.
All right. Sounds good to me. And then you get to go first on this next one, which is the number 1 slot. So we're going to be filling in the middle kind of towards the end.
Okay. Number 1, I'm going with Quamless Chillers.
You broke the number 1 rule of predicting on the podcast.
Which is?
Always saying your team is going to win.
I'm just trying to give an honest take.
Okay.
And I think Quamless Chillers is the favorite. I mean, you're coming off of a season win. You kept your core, your true core in Rat and Drakkar. I'm very confident in them to continue to play really well. If I'm trying, and they just came off of a Frostbite win as well, where they dropped 1 game and then looked pretty damn dominant throughout the rest of the tournament. I think they had 1 game in the finals was kind of close. Every other game was pretty much a stomp. I don't think you have to say too much about the strengths of this team. If I'm trying to be fair to every team and try to say, positive and negative, it's hard to come up with negatives. I'm not sure they're quite as flexible with their roster this season. as they were last season, being able to like do so many role swaps and so many different subs and stuff coming in just because of the point system now. I think they're
Also, the fact that they
required.
can't change their roster mid-series because of Fearless.
Yeah, and
That's a big thing
wait,
too.
what?
Because if
What?
it's Fearless, you can't sub players out mid-series.
You can't?
No, because
I did not know.
it's
I didn't know
Fearless.
that.
I feel like there's no point of us running Fearless if it's like, oh, we lose our chance. Well, let's just put different players in. Like, what's
Okay,
the point
I
of all
didn't.
that?
Well, I didn't know that, but that doesn't change my opinion.
Yeah,
Um, I think they're limited in that they have to run Zaber if they're playing Rat and Drakkar, so I think
yes,
they just
that's
don't have
correct.
quite the same flexibility. Uh, and I think maybe if I have any other thing to say, like maybe they're a little more vulnerable this season. I just think perhaps Zaber's a bit more of an angle to attack than Chow was last season. I think Chow was a very just as I said already said, rock solid kind of player. Um, Maybe Zaber's a little more vulnerable, but I mean they're in my number one slot for a reason. I think they're really good. So yeah.
Okay, well, I already said what I'm doing. I am sticking to the podcast special. I am putting Rift Sharks here. I don't care if you think if I actually believe that or not. I'm putting Rift Sharks number one. I think my rebuttal towards Gruer is we have played a lot of games with Fishy not on the roster, and I think those rosters have looked really good too. A lot of confidence in our people who are filling in as jungle. And I do think the fact that so many people on our team are very role flexible is going to help us a ton in Fearless. I also think with how many people we have with really, really deep champion pools, I think our team is basically unaffected by Fearless. I think you're going to lose a couple champions, but I think the champions that we'd suffer by losing are just going to have to be banned the entire series anyway. I think QC, I think, is another team. I think who is really not going to suffer from Fearless at all, but I think our team has a really strong backbone there. I also think the one game that we played against Alvarez Inferno and lost in semifinals in Frostbite, I can confidently say I think is the worst game I have ever seen us play. That's including Flex, that's including Norm's games where we weren't even trying, that's including everything. I don't even know what that was. I guess if that keeps happening, then I think this is a different conversation. But I think even if we are to have a game like that, I think the fact that there's always going to be another game where we're able to play again and try and come back, I think it's going to be really good to help us. I think we have a lot of upsides as a team, and I don't know. I think there's a lot of positives. And again, I'm putting myself number one because I want to have confidence in my team, not because I think I really need to justify it. But anyway,
Okay.
my turn to go first for our next one, which is not 7 again. It's not 1 again. It's not 7 again. It is ninth. So we're going to clear out the middle, and I really don't want to put this team here, but I am just going to put SKT in ninth. I'm going to put the money in the bag on this one. I think they have so much that they need to change in an administrative sense if they need to do better as a team. I don't think Game Case and Tuxedo are active enough players to be the ones to really do all the draft research and fix the team for them. I think if it was a new player who was super active, I think I would have a different opinion on this, but someone on this team needs to actually step up and do any sort of draft prep and actually understand what roster they're playing against and ban the correct champions and figure out how to draft. And I've not seen any ounce of this, and I don't think they've changed their roster enough for that to fix. I think they have really good players. I think if basically any other captain was running their draft, I think that rockets them up on this at least a little bit. I think that would put them more in 6th or 7th territory. Fuck, god damn it. Not intentional. Put them in that territory on the playoff brink, I'll call it. But I don't know if that's going to happen. Hopefully someone watching this on this team takes this as motivation to actually research before they draft. But I don't have any evidence to see that that will happen. So I'm going to doubt this team again. But it is not anything to do with player skill. It is just, I don't think this team has been run very well, and I don't have any confidence that that's going to change.
Okay. For me, number 9 is also SKT.
Yep, I was already typing it.
You didn't have to say that, Dean. But
You told me in advance. I mean, that was the one that you told me in advance.
Maybe I did. Sam S is gonna do great. He's gonna do really good. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
I actually thought Game Case and Faye both had good performances in
I
Frostbite, and I think, yeah, you kind of got into. You think the draft has been a lot of their issue. I agree. I also think they've struggled to have really consistent solo lane performances. And Game Case and Faye both gave me some hope. I mean, I think they played well. So I but it's just there's no easy games. Like, I think they played well, but it's like there's never an easy game. And then I just have no idea how that Apari ADC experiment's going to go.
Yeah, after the
And the
Jin
game
game,
against
I don't
Metabusters
know.
just didn't give me confidence.
Yeah, I'm
So
like
I
I'm hesitant to
I
be
don't
too harsh
know.
on it because your first game is a bad matchup into Stav Twitch, and your second game is a Yasuo AD carry game, which he played
I
fine
will
that
say,
game. Like I don't know.
yeah, and I will say Apari is a grinder, and that's a player that wants to do well and does put time into playing the game and getting better. So I don't have an idea of how it's going to go, but I am confident that if he wants to be a good AD carry player, that by the end of the season he'll be putting up some good performances. But it's just such a hard hill to climb, and you're coming off 2 seasons where you went winless. I think it's like a culture thing almost at that point. It's hard to get out of that. I,
I mean, look at the
I'm
Washington
hopeful.
Wizards.
Yeah, I'm hopeful they can grab a win this season. I think it's possible, but yeah, I think I got to put them 9 for right now.
Yeah.
All right, what am I up on?
Okay, I keep rolling ones we've already done. I'm just gonna change the minimum to 3 and the max to 6. That
There
seems
you
like it'll
go.
give me better results. Oh, actually, I'd roll the 5 before I did that. So we're doing 5 and then 6 is next. So
Number 5.
yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
Number 5, and this one might be controversial. We'll see. I'm putting Metabusters at number 5.
Shocking.
And I debated this one a ton, but it's where I'm putting them for right now. I'm really confident in Snow's performance. I think Snow is one of the best players in the entire server and has played like it. I have some concern with Korn's champ pool, and I feel like this is almost like a weak take at this point because it seems like everybody does, even their own team, because they've been purposefully trying to practice more champs. So, but I do have like a little bit of concern there just with Fearless. I mean, so I did a little stats dive, and Korn's played 87 team format games, 58 on his top 3 champs of Renekton, Ornn, and Darius. That's 2/3 of his games are on his top 3 champs. So I know they're putting time into getting more champions there, but I don't know. This team could end up first for all I know. Like I really think they're strong, but where I got them, the biggest swing for me is what level of player are we going to get to see from the returners? Stav, Tusini, and Hidiri, all when they've left have been like top players in their role. Are they going to be at that level coming back? I don't know. That's a big like swing factor for me. But yeah, I think I honestly had Metabusters potentially being way higher than this, but it's where I ended up settling them. And I'm proud. This if I get burned by anything, this will be the one. I feel like, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm putting your team in 5th.
Okay.
I don't know. I think the fact that they're going to have a lot of people off roll at minimum, I think is a big part of this. I think it's 5 really solid players, but I mean, especially after last season where it was tough to find motivation for a lot of their players to actually play the game, and a lot of talk of this roster not existing if it didn't get pulled together in the exact way it did. I am just putting doubts on the motivation of this team to actually play. I think my expectations have been turned around a little bit. I know that Jonah's been asking around for scrim partners and stuff. I know this team has been doing some scrims, so I know that there is practice going through, and I think you would be a good motivator to get your team to play the game. But I also know that you are not necessarily as invested in scrims as you have been in the past also, and I think that is your team's biggest obstacle. I think that is especially true when you're looking at a potential role swaps, because at minimum, 2 people on this team are going to have to be on an off roll in order for the team to work. You don't have an AD carry main. You don't have a top lane main. Someone is going to need to fill both those spots. And especially if that's both your side lanes, I think that puts a lot of pressure on the mid jungle. And no offense to Noam or Jonah, but I don't think either of those players are considered top 3 jungles. And I think if your strong point is going to be 2 roles, you want really good players in those 2 roles. And I don't think either of them are the carry threats that some of these other teams towards the top are going to have. That said, I think you have 5 really good players on that team, and I think they're going to play really well, especially if we get to see some from Dad, but I don't think the Dad Gruer lineup is able to be run with a lot of the other people still in place. So I think that kind of falls apart a little bit. I don't know. I'm really excited to see how it shakes out, but I think One Thief as dead middle of the pack makes sense to me based on what I know.
Heard. What's next?
And sixth is next. So I will raise you a New York Nutbusters in this role. Kind of echoing off what you said, I have a lot of confidence in these players, but I guess I'm off the side of the screen. I'm just going to decrease their text size so that they fit. But yeah, I mean, I think I have a lot of confidence in all the players individually. I think it's a very big change. I think Blake is not going to suffer at all from Fearless. I think Carrot could potentially suffer a lot from Fearless. I think Archived is going to suffer a lot from Fearless. And if I'm believing what you say about Daniel's mid lane pool, I think the same could be true there. So I think a lot of the pressure on this team is going to be towards Blake and PB. And I mean, I think they are very high potential players. We've seen a lot of good things happen when Blake, PB, and Psycho Carrot are all on the same team. But I also think there's a half chance that Archived and Daniel literally go insane after spending too many hours in comms with those three. So we could see how this turns out.
Okay, for me, number six, I'm going with Project Tuesdays.
Oh, I know I have 6-7. Great.
Yeah, we really got them there. But yeah, for me, Project Tuesdays, I don't know. I'm kind of unsure exactly on where they'll wrap, but I'm putting them 6 for right now. I thought their bot lane looked pretty strong in the games I saw during Frostbite. I mean, that game that they took off of QC, I thought Yug and Fatal played extremely well, and that's the first time I'd ever seen them play. So I thought they looked really impressive. I thought LSD Dreams has looked really impressive in a lot of the games that I've seen as well. And then to me, the swing for this team that'll really define their ceiling, a lot's going to come down to their jungle and top lane performance. Dave has looked strong so far in top lane. I'm curious to see if that'll be consistent throughout a season. And then I think Spiral's just a player with a lot of variance. Has had some really, really good performances, has had some bad performances. But that's kind of where I'm at with them. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're between 3 and 4. So when we give our rankings, we're just going to fill in the 2 remaining. You are waiting to put in One Thief and Snargify. I'm waiting to put in Metabusters and QC. It's just rolled me 3 6s in a row and then a 5. So I'm just let's just do them 3-4 in our spots.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and go first just because
sure.
I'm putting Metabusters in 3rd and I'm putting Qualmless Chillers in 4th. I think Metabusters, I think everyone on this team is super proven. I think, yes, the one issue you called out on their team is I think the one issue this team has. If I look at the roster of Korn, Snow, Fuger, Stav, and Jacob, that is like the roster that they've had a really good success with, kind of on steroids. I think Fuger swapping to mid, like this guy has a billion champions that you never even thought would play mid lane that he's going to pick out, and they're going to be super freaking annoying, and it's going to make it impossible to draft against this team. And Snow has looked like an absolute beast in the jungle, and I think Fuger's potential downsides of role swapping to mid lane that we saw last season aren't going to be present anymore because he just spent a whole season playing mid lane and he gets to stay there. I think, yes, maybe Corn champion pool issues could be an issue, but I'm honestly not that worried about it when you have to deal with the rest of their map. That's 4 terrifying players. You don't have any weak spots on the rest of the map. So I think if your goal is to take out Metabusters, you're going to have to focus so many resources into the top lane. And I think all Korn needs to do is be able to find 3 champions a series that he can play and not lose them the game solo. And I believe he is a good enough player to do that. So I'm putting Metabusters in 3rd. Qualmless Chillers, I think... everything you said, I think holds true. I think they look really good. However, 3 of the games they won in Frostbite that they absolutely slammed is a roster that they're never going to be allowed to run in the season. So I think that is an asterisk on that. And I do think that, yes, they had really good games in Frostbite, but if I look at it and, they beat, what was it? 1T is their second game. which is a team I put below them here, and they beat Project Tuesdays as their other game that they won, who I also have below them here. I think if they had taken a game off of SR when both of them were running legal rosters, I think that completely changed my mind. I think if they had played against Metabusters, I think that would also change my mind, or against us. But I don't put as much stock in the Frostbite results as I probably should. I think this might be the one where I'm wrong. Maybe they'll win again, but I don't know. I think playing against this team is a lot simpler than it's going to have been last season, and I think not having Chow, Kage, Paul M is going to hurt them a little bit. I think Alec and Jim are really good. I think Zaber is a solid player, but I think losing the rosters, or the members of the roster that they used to have, is going to hurt them overall, and I don't think they're going to repeat. But hey, if they do, that'll be exciting. First ever repeat win in Scrim Zone if it happens. So
Yeah. Okay. For me, at number 3, I went with Snarkify Rebellion. I think Vetus is just like, it's insanely reliable, strong carry. I've already kind of talked about him a lot during the team discussion. I think Sandy and Scott have both looked really strong. I kind of curious to see what rosters they settle on. They can't run. I don't think they can run Scott, Sandy, and Vetus. I don't know. I'm curious to see how they look. I think whoever's in on that team between Scott and Sandy,
they can if Scott plays jungle. Kage, Scott, Sandy, Vetus, and Lelouch is legal.
Gotcha. Okay. I think their ceiling's going to really come down to the level of play that Scott and Sandy show, though. I have like the utmost confidence in Vetus to just like consistently be a strong performer. So to me, if they're going to contest, I think this is a team that could easily win the season. And if they're going to do it, it's going to come off of the back of Sandy or Scott playing at that highest level. And then I'm curious to see how Kage looks in top lane. That's kind of my like high variance for this team. I think Kage looked really good last season. I think he looked really great with QC. That was primarily an 80 carry in mid lane, so I haven't seen a ton of him playing top lane. Curious to see how that goes. A lot of good top laners. Never really going to get an easy game. So that's kind of why I got them there. And then put One Thief in 4th. I think you're sleeping a little bit on Cerberus. I know you said we have like 4 off rolls, yes, Cerberus has played.
I am well aware Cerberus has won a season on ADC. I know.
All I'm saying is, well, the season that the season that Cerberus played on ADC was probably the most dominant individual season any AD carry player's ever had. So I'm gonna hype my boy up, and I think with him putting the practice back in, he's gonna be able to hang with anybody. And I think him and Bean, Bean has consistently looked like one of the best support players. So I have the utmost confidence in my bot lane to just be extremely good. That's where I'm at with them.
You're so confident that you put your team in 4th, so I don't know.
I will say the consistency, if I'm like trying to be fair, like why am I not putting us first? The consistency of our top side gives me some concern. There's a lot of tough matchups, and as you said, this is potentially, Gnome or Jonah switching roles from what they did last season. We'll see. And then I think a lot of our team's success, like I've been kind of saying what I think the biggest variance on every team is. A lot of this team's success is going to come down to my performance. So I think our ceiling, to me, I'm very confident in my bot lane. I'm confident in my top and jungle to like kind of figure it out and play their role. So I think a lot of if we can go higher, it's going to come off of me, kind of leveling up and playing better than I have been lately, and we'll see. But kind of feel confident putting us at 4.
Yeah, well, it's another season of Rift Sharks on the top in the predicts, and I don't know. I love the pressure, guys. I really do. We can stop doing this though, but
I do have some comments I want to shout out in chat. Yeah,
I'm interested to see what other people's power rankings are. So I hope some get set in season discussion after this, but I'm going to close out on this, and I have a little fun announcement for State of Scrims. Let me double check something on the YouTube real quick, because I don't want to spread misinformation while I'm making my fun announcement. But this is our 64th episode of State of Scrims, and the first one we did was 3 years minus 9 days ago. So this is about the third anniversary of State of Scrims, and I figure with that we'll do something exciting. So what I am announcing is that for the duration of this season, especially because we are going to have a March in this season, I'm going to do kind of like voting brackets throughout the season. So I'm going to start off after, when I get the time to do this, because it'll take a little bit. I'm going to vote like best Dean outfit is the first bracket, and then best co-host or co-hosts as the bracket. And then we'll kind of iterate through each round as the season goes. And we'll just come up with it. I think it'll be a fun thing to just kind of vote on. I'll send out like a weekly Google form with all the things we got to vote on. I think it'll just be a fun way to contribute, have some things to talk about. And I think there was so the one that I'm doing that we start next week. So I am going to need user submissions for a lot of these. Ideally we can get up to 64 for everything, but I know some categories we're not going to be able to reach there. This next one I'm expecting a little less, but with the addition of tower crusts, crust makes you think of bread, so sandwiches. That is going to be the next thing to vote on. So when I launch the voting for best Dean outfit and best co-host, I will add a survey. Just drop any sandwich you can think of in there, and I will pick the best ones if we get too many to do. But I do want to see. I think I'm a big foodie. I want to see what people like in terms of sandwiches. The definition of sandwich can be kind of loose here, but if you pick something that isn't really a sandwich, like maybe if you think a taco is a sandwich, then we'll see if people even judge you, because you might not get votes on that one because people might not consider it to be a sandwich. But I think there are tons of great sandwiches out there. And hey, maybe if one wins, I will eat it live on the podcast or something, and maybe I'll make Gruer go out and buy one too. So we'll see.
Sure.
But I don't know. I think it'll be a fun thing to do. Kind of keep up some content week by week. I'll go over the results in each podcast. Just something to do if we don't have any baked or based, or if we do. And I don't know. I feel like people love other segments. And I'm also going to try to put together some more player focused content. I think the first question I have that I'm going to put out there is, if you have a kind of unique or interesting summoner name, or name in game, and you want to share why you did that, if you could just do a quick recording of yourself, or like just have your Discord PFP up there and kind of give a little explanation. I'll edit all that together and we can throw it up at the beginning or end of a podcast, or air it on the stream. So I think that's probably easier than me hunting everyone down and trying to record it myself. If you're just able to submit a user submission on that, could be cool. If people aren't really interested in that, then I'll try and find a different way to do it. But anyway, I'm trying to do more content for you guys, try and step more into that role, because I think it's really fun, and I'm jazzed about having 9 teams and having a big stuff for the server. And maybe I'll get busy and not really have time to do any of this, but trying. So
we set our goals high, as we should.
All right. Well, I think that's all I have for the podcast. I will put all this out in a ping in announcements, in case anyone missed any of this, but we have like 17 viewers, which is awesome. I'm glad to have so many people here for our debut episode of this season. And thank you again to Gruer, who I think just going forward will be the co-host unless anything changes. Gruer, don't start bullying people for fun, because that's how you get replaced.
Okay, I'll try my best. Sometimes Rat's really getting on my nerves in the comments, but we'll see. And he just typed about it too. So we'll see.
Well, he just asked me if I let it crust, so maybe I'll start having to bully that guy too. But anyway, see y'all in a few days.
Later, guys.
Week. I don't know. After some games have been played, so peace.